Hi, my name is Gina Paulus, and I am excited to welcome you to the Homebodies Fitness Show. We have a very special episode today. My father, Jeff Paolino, is here with us today. So thanks so much for joining us.
Gina.
Hi, nice to see you.
Thank you. You too.
So Jeff is working on his heart health, and we're going to do a strength training routine today to help him with his heart health. Now, tell us, what else do you do for heart health besides strength training?
I do half an hour cardio per day, and I do some light weights 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay, cool. So today we're going to be reviewing his weight routine and giving him some pointers to help him out. We will be moving a little bit more quickly through these weights because we are going to get that circuit training effect where he's going to get his heart rate just elevated a little bit. That being said, if you're new to exercise, you'd want to take it a bit slower. Always listen to your body and to your doctor's advice when it comes to exercise. So the first movement we're going to do actually doesn't have equipment, but I did want to take a moment to explain to you all what equipment we'll use for this exercise list. And so you'll see there's a mat here. A yoga mat works awesome. You can always use just a nice comfortable rug on the floor. Hardwood is a little tricky, so just a comfortable spot on the floor is great. We also want to have a couple of dumbbells. If you only have the same dumbbell of left and right hand, so say you might have a 2 for each hand, that's fine. And especially for females, I tend to suggest between 2 and 5 to start. Males can typically do between 5 and 10. So having at least one of each works really, really well. So these are 2 10s that he'll be using because he's a little bit more experienced. But you may benefit from having additional weights, maybe a 15 or a 20, but I do suggest starting with at least 2 of the same, and then that would be the base for this. So we're going to get started with a plank. Now, remind me, are you doing your planks on the floor or are you doing them against the bed right now?
The floor.
The floor, okay. So would you mind showing us your plank?
Sure.
All right, perfect. So you'll see he's on his elbows. It is possible to do our planks on our hands. It's a little bit more challenging for our core on the elbows. As he's holding this, he's going to make sure he's taking nice deep breaths as best as he can while keeping his front abs engaged. So we're going to try about 10 more seconds here. How are you doing so far?
Fine, thanks.
You're fine, okay, cool. So yes, he has been working on this. He's not brand new, so he's pretty used to it all, but he looks really good. I don't see any big problems with this. Just make sure, Jeff, that you keep your knees just slightly bent when you hold your plank, and that will give you a little bit more abs. Go ahead and come on down. That's it. You can come down now. Perfect. So how did that one feel for you? Fine, okay, cool. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
And did that irritate your back at all?
No.
It's fine, okay. So when he works out at home, he has access to a chair where he can kind of boost himself up. So we actually do have the chair here too. So we'll keep that nearby just for a little bit of assistance. So then the next thing we're going to work on is a squat. And there's a few different ways to do it. And I believe you were doing the kind with your dumbbell down, is that right?
Right.
Okay, so you'll see here we're going to do a little bit with the wider legs, bending our legs and then coming up. And as we're doing that, we're trying to make sure that we do keep a neutral core, meaning that we're not arching our back or rounding it as we do the squat. So here you go. You can give that one a shot for us.
Okay.
Now the squats are great because you're utilizing more of a full body with the strength training. You're getting a lot of legs, a lot of glutes. You're getting some core as well. So it's definitely one of those that is great for heart health because you're using so many muscle groups at once, and that's helping strengthen and condition your heart. Now, as he's doing this, we want to make sure that we take an inhale breath on the way down and an exhale breath on the way up. Now, Jeff, see if you can keep a little bit more weight in your heels so that your heels stay heavy and you don't let your foot kind of rock forward. And that might mean he can't go quite as low, but that's going to give him a better effect for his glute work. Good job. Let's try 3 more of these, and 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful job. Those have gotten a lot better since the last time I saw those. Nice work, nice work. All right. And you'll see here that I'm alternating our core work with legs and then some arms. By alternating the body parts, we're going to give the heart a little bit of a better stimulus because we're forcing blood all over the body, and that's the best thing for your heart to get that condition that we would want. So the next one is a chest press, which I know is newer for you, so I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Okay. So you can just step to the side and let me be on the mat for a minute here. So these can be done on a bench. A lot of people don't have a bench at their house. So if you don't have a bench, no problem. You can simply go onto the floor. And you always want to start with dumbbells. Have them close to you to start off, like I am now. And then you can move your arms out to the side. Now we have the option of having our palms forward or our palms facing in. And if you're not sure, I suggest palm facing in. If you know one of them feels better, you can do the other version. Palm facing in gives us a little bit more space in our shoulder joint. So you're lightly tapping the floor with your elbows and then pushing straight up. You'll notice that my weights come a little bit closer at the top, but they don't touch. And the breath goes inhale down, exhale push. And then I suggest elbows down, weights down. And then you can either sit up or roll to the side and press up. Because you can injure your back if you do a sit-up with the weights if you're not quite strong enough for that. So let's go ahead and let you down there. Yeah, you can go right there. Okay. And so one of the fun things about working out at home is we end up getting up and down off the floor a lot. That's actually really, really good for us. Go ahead and bend your legs a little bit. Good. And is your head comfortable enough?
Yes. Want to move the chair back a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. All right. So he's going to either do palms forward or palms facing in, and he's exhaling as he presses. I prefer your legs bent. It's better for your back. Unless it hurts your back, then you can do whatever feels best. But generally speaking, we're better off bending our legs. Even if you use a bench, I do suggest having the bent legs so that you get a little bit better lumbar support. Inhale down, exhale press, good. When we use our dumbbells, we're getting shoulder stabilization as well. Whereas when you do push-ups, you get a little bit less of that shoulder stabilization, but you get a little bit more core. So there's always a trade-off a little bit here. So having the dumbbells is a great option so that you do get that shoulder stabilization. And push-ups can be really challenging because we're pushing our whole body if we do them on the floor like this. So I think this is perfect for him. Let's try 3 more, Jeff. And 2. And 1. Beautiful job. And then go ahead and place them on the ground and then sit up however you're most comfortable to do so. And I can give you a hand if you need. Okay. So yeah, use that chair. That's a great option. So like I was saying at the gym, we have it kind of easy because the benches and everything are up high. But in the real world, if we have grandkids at home or we have pets, we're going to want to get on the floor and play with them. And if you never practice getting up and down on the floor, guess what happens?
Atrophy.
Yes, atrophy. One day you'll go to try and you're gonna get stuck. And that is very, very unpleasant. So by making yourself, whether it be using the chair to help yourself, whatever it takes, but you wanna make sure that you keep that as best as you can so you have the option to get on the floor and get up if you have to, too. So the next one we're going to do is a glute bridge, and this one is really, really good for toning the back of the legs and the hips. Do you remember glute bridge? Would you like me to show?
Please show.
Okay, cool. I will do that. So we have the option of doing this as body weight, where we're just doing it with no weights. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the weighted version in case you'll want to do that at home. So I do suggest it first. This version, what we're going to do is make sure that our pelvis is tilted just a smidge. And it's probably hard to see, but what I'm doing is I'm bringing my pubic bone up just a little bit. This part of me is coming up so that when I lift, I'm not arching my back. So just like that. And then if we can, we would add a weight to our hips, and then we would do it that way. So remember, the goal isn't necessarily to get the highest you can do. The goal is to get as high as you can with your spine staying neutral. Okay, so I think for him, we're gonna start him with just his body weight and see how he looks that way. So you can go ahead onto your back. And quite often body weight's enough. So I always suggest starting there, especially if something is newer for you. So you can go ahead and bend those legs, yep. And then keeping in mind what I said about tilting that pelvis just a little bit, imagining it spinning backwards like a wheel and then lifting and then lowering down. Beautiful. Good, and then up and down again. So once again, we don't want to hold our breath. Holding your breath is a very bad habit when you're strength training. And it can be hard. You're learning something new and you're maybe a little bit tired. But holding your breath is the worst possible thing. So just make sure that you're breathing as you do this, Jeff. Good. So he's looking pretty good here. Do you feel like this is good for today, or do you want to try the dumbbell?
Dumbbell's fine.
Dumbbell's fine. All right, so let's deliver that to you, coming in from the top. You can grab a hold of that. I do suggest you hold the dumbbell with your hands. That way you're not going to lose it. So go ahead and hold it with both hands so your body's centered. So grab a hold of it on each end. Yeah, perfect. There you go. Good. Now, some people will wonder spacing of feet. His feet are a little far. I would suggest pulling them in a little bit closer to you if you can. And let's try it there. That way he's getting not quite that much. Let's go right in the middle. Beautiful, right there. So then up and down that way, he's getting a little bit more balanced work for his legs with this setup.
Can you hold it?
That's a really good question. So it really depends on your goals. For you, I would say a second is plenty. So just 1,000 and down. Yeah. We should be feeling this in our glutes back here. We might feel it in the back of the legs. One more tip you can try. As you're up at the top, Jeff, I want you to lightly dig or drag your heels back toward your butt, and that should really turn on the back of your legs. So try that one for the last 3, and let me know if you feel that difference. So it's almost like you're trying to kick yourself in the butt as you hold. Go ahead and lower down. Beautiful. Let's do 2 more. Good. And then 1 more. Cool. So I'm going to have you stay there for just a second. And let me ask you, have you ever had a Charlie horse in your leg?
Yes.
Yeah. So this one can sometimes create those. So if you do have that, what I suggest is trying to flex your foot like I'm doing here a little bit. Pulling that back can help relieve that if that happens. Okay. So now I'm actually going to have you slide a little bit more forward on the mat. We're going to do 1 more on the floor before we get into our upright work. Yeah, that looks great. So we're going to go ahead and hold this right on the ends and keeping your arms straight for me. So straight arms, touch the weight to my hand. You're going to move the weight behind your head. Now let's go back to bent legs. Bend your legs for me. There you go. So guys, when you're on your back, pretty much all the exercises that I'm going to suggest, you're best off bending your legs like this. He's had a few instances of some back issues over the years, and it's really, really important that we keep him safe with the knees bent like that. So keeping your elbows straight, we're going to move the weight overhead. Go ahead. And then pulling it back. Good. Yep. Does that feel all right?
Yep.
Make sure you lower the weight slowly so that you're in control at all times. Yeah, so this one can be deceiving. He's using a 10, but again, he's used to it. If you're new to it, I suggest a 5 to start off. We don't usually do a lot of things with our arms over our head. And when our muscle is stretched, it's at its weakest. So definitely lighter weight is usually recommended when you're not sure of how strong you would be in something like this. Good job, Jeff. Let's do last one. Good job with the breathing as well. That looked great. I'll take that back from you. All right, so you can make your way up. This is your last time you'll have to get on the floor, so go ahead and come on up. Mm-hmm. If you needed that, that's there for you. All right, so that was your core and a little bit of arms and some glutes too. How did that feel?
Very good, thanks.
Yeah? So at home, how many sets do you usually do?
2.
2, okay. And do you go through the whole thing and then the whole thing again, or how do you do it?
Back to back each exercise.
Back to back. So you'll do like 2 together?
Yeah.
So he's saying he'd do a plank, then maybe a squat, and then back and forth that way. And that's a really good method when you are working on heart health, because when we challenge our body to shift the blood, like I said, from one area of the body to another, we are really working that heart in a healthy way. And that's a great approach for that. So we're going to go ahead with bent over row next. And for bent over row, we will be utilizing the chair. And so how this one works, you'll just need 1 weight for this, and you can have your legs staggered where one is back and one is forward. The leg that's back, I suggest, is the one that you use for your arm that pulls. You'll notice that my chest stays parallel to the ground. I'm not letting the weight pull me. Okay, and then we're going to come up and then lower down slowly. You'll notice when I do this, guys, that I'm always pulling more quickly and lowering more slowly, and that is generally a great rule of thumb when it comes to strength training. So you can go ahead and try that one for us, and we'll end up doing both sides. Keeping the knees slightly bent is a great idea that will help take pressure off the spine. So go ahead and pull and then lower down. And Jeff, just make sure that you don't cuff your wrist. So meaning keep it nice and straight as you pull. Beautiful, that's much better. So what I was saying to him was he was kind of cuffing his wrist in, and that can actually place strain on the wrists and elbows. So we want to make sure that we don't do that. Everything else looks good on him though. Let's try 2 more on this arm. You can take a quick break and then we'll switch sides. Cool. All right, go ahead and stand up and just take a quick break. So when we're doing this, we're getting some work on our arm that I call the base arm, or the arm on the chair. So this arm is working to hold you square to the ground. The other arm is working to pull the weight. So we have 2 arms working. So with something like this, I do suggest taking a brief reprieve between arms. That way you're getting that little bit of rest to make sure that your second set is of the highest quality possible. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So let's try the other side. Okay. And then breathing, once again, we want to exhale when we move away from gravity. So no matter what you're doing with the weight, think, am I moving away from gravity? I exhale. Exhale on the exertion. We're inhaling on the opposite. Good. Try to feel your shoulder blade sliding towards your spine as you pull on this bent over row. Good job. And then you'll feel the shoulder blade sliding away as you straighten your arm. Very nice. Looking good. And he's doing a fabulous job keeping his body square to the ground. You can see that he's nice and even with both of his sides of his chest. Let's do 2 more. Good. And last one. Beautiful. All right, let's just place the weight down. That looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, is that one of the ones on your plan at home?
Yes, absolutely.
It is, okay. And
like that one
are
a
you
lot.
still using the 10 for it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so this one is one that we could consider going up for him. You can think about it like this. When you're using just one muscle, for example, your bicep, you would use a relatively lighter weight. When you're using your back and your bicep like this, you could, in theory, do a little bit more. But he just started strength training really with regularity this summer, I feel like, around the summer.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got to start slowly, but I think it's probably time for us to go through and make sure you're using the most appropriate weight. We do want to challenge you, but we don't want to overwhelm you or make you too sore. So I think, at this point, you've been consistent. We're probably ready to bump you, but for tonight, we'll be easy on you.
Thank you.
So we're winding it down here. We have a few more movements to do. We're going to do overhead shoulder press next. Have you been doing this with one arm or 2? The one that you go up that way?
Well, I favor my right arm. My left arm,
Okay.
shoulder surgery, so
Yeah.
my left arm, my overhead strength is
Okay.
compromised.
Okay, so when you do the movement, do you do 2 arms at once, or have you been doing just one at a time?
I do both at once.
You do both at once. All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and try that and see how that's looking. And there you go. So you can face the viewers and show us the overhead press. Cool. Good. All right, so I'm going to stop you for just a second. So tell me what's going on with that. Like, why are you holding that like that? Is that just how you've been doing it?
Yeah, it's a little heavy for my left arm.
Got it. So here's my suggestion. So I'll take that from you. I'm going to suggest that you do this just one arm at a time so you can really focus on the range of motion. So let's try with the right arm.
Okay.
And you can place your left arm right on your waist.
Okay.
Whenever we're doing overhead shoulder pressing, we want to have our knees slightly bent. And then we're pushing and going down. Now this is a harder one, so we're not going to do quite as many. Let's try 8 of them.
Okay.
And I'll give you credit for the first 3. So there's 4. Good. And he's doing a great job not leaning backwards. That looks beautiful. Good. Let's try 2 more on that side. Cool. All right. And then let's see on the left one, is the 10 too much, or what do you think?
Yeah, it is.
It's too much. All right. So what I suggest, if the 10 is too much, I'll take that back from you. We could do it with a lighter weight. We actually don't have that here with us. But instead of skipping it altogether, I'm going to suggest that you just simply go up and down with no weight. And that way you're working on the range of motion and the flexibility. Did you have frozen shoulder at one point? Does that sound
Yes.
familiar? Yeah. And you had a rotator cuff issue?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, when we have either those, the frozen shoulder or the rotator cuff, and we've been given the green light to exercise, range of motion is king. So even if you can't lift as much weight, simply just doing the motion is good. So let's try to get about 10 reps out of you on the motion. And then at home, he would do this with a 5 or something a little bit lighter. Yep, perfect. That's it. And people don't realize that range of motion is the most important thing. They always think about weightlifting and strength training, but if you don't have range of motion, you can't do the exercise at all because you can't even get in the position. So definitely time spent working range of motion is very valuable. Let's try 3 more of these. Good. Really nice. Cool. I think that's good. And then I just want to take a second to show the viewers at home what we don't want to do with our shoulder press. So from the side, if you're having a tough time with the overhead shoulder press, you'll probably start doing one of these. And I remember I went over that with you at home, right? So it's hard to catch yourself. I do suggest having a mirror so that you can see what's going on. Because when we feel our body, we only know what feels normal. We don't know what is correct and what is not. So the first step is getting education, watching this show, having a trainer. That's the way to get education. But then the next step is utilizing that education. So having a mirror or filming yourself with your phone or anything like that, it can be really, really helpful. So we're going to go into the hammer curls next. And for hammer curls, you can go ahead and grab one in each hand of those weights, and I'll review with you. You can stand next to me. So for this, hammer curl, palms face in, biceps curls, palms face forward. We're going to do the hammer curls, and he's going to go up and down slowly. The hammer curls tend to be a good option for anybody who's just doing general fitness because it tends to be a little bit kinder to our arms and less likely to cause injury. And then it will help with things like gardening, yard work, carrying groceries, all of things I know he likes to do or ends up doing, one or the other. I think your girlfriend does a lot of the grocery carrying, but but he does pretty much all the yard work of the heavy lifting, so. Good. And then once again, we want to lift quick and we want to lower slowly. Good. That's it. Now let's show them a few from the side too. So go ahead and spin sideways so they can see you. Yeah, and so watch how he doesn't do this as he curls. That's bad. We don't want to do that. So show them 3 really nice ones where you don't lean backwards. Keeping his knees soft, a little bit bent, is going to help him get more of his belly strength. Good. Let's try last one. Perfect. Sweet. Good job. You can set the weights down. So we are winding it down here. The last 2, we have one called serratus shoulder raise, and for that one, I do suggest people start once again with no weights or a very light weight such as your cell phone. So the 10s are going to be too much for this, but you can stand next to me, and we're going to hold pretend weights in our hands and just work again the range of motion. Which muscle are we activating? So we're going to lift our arms in a V-like shape so that our hands go to the sides of our head and then slowly lower. You want to start at your eye level and then come down. Perfect. And then as you're doing this, you want to reach long, long, long through your pinkies. Good. Reach long, long, long. So for something like this, I suggest 2 to 3 pounds at the most, really. I think this is a newer one for you as well. Or do you do this at home?
No, it's new.
It's new, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because it's been a minute since we've gone through it. And see how slow I'm going? Yeah, that's exactly right. Really reaching long. And especially if you do have a history of shoulder injury, then body weight might be enough for this. You can also try with bands, but the 10 is going to be a lot for this, so I do not suggest 10 pounds. Let's try 2 more of these. Good. And then last one. And a lot of people have questions about the hands. I'm kind of dating myself here, but I like to call it hitchhiker thumbs. I have never hitchhiked, but I've heard stories about what's like the longest you've trekked on a hitchhike.
New Jersey.
So what, New Hampshire? From Haverhill, yeah. So this is like a long time ago, but you know, you do what you have to do, I guess, before Uber was around, right?
Right.
So then the last one, oh, where are the weights? We'll do some calf raises, and this is another case where You can have weights or you cannot. If you want to have weights, you're going to just hold them right to your sides like this. I think for starters, we'll go no weight with you. So you can stand next to me and then keep your hands to your sides to get ready for the weights if we choose to do that. You want to have your feet under your hips, not out wider, okay? And then you're going to go up and down, trying your best to lower as slowly as you can. Good. This can be one where it's nice to hold onto something too. And the reason is, we don't want balance to really be the main idea. So go ahead and put your hands on there if you can reach comfortably. If not, no worries. And we're going to go up and down that way. Yeah. Do you like having the chair or do you feel better without it?
I like the chair.
You do? Okay, cool. So this one's great. We can also consider single leg. Probably for him, we're going to stay away from that. But single leg, you would just balance on this way and you would go up and down with the one leg. So let's try 5 more, Jeff. Good. Perfect. Now the calves serve an important part of our heart health in that they help pump the blood back to our heart. So strengthening the calves is really, really helpful. Good. Let's do last one. Perfect. Beautiful. All right, so we'll take the chair back. So that was everything. Do you feel like we hit all your major muscle groups?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And then we were chatting before the show started. You were born in Haverhill, right?
Right, yes.
And then I ended up moving to Haverhill, which I didn't really plan on, but that's just kind of how it happened. So between the two of us, one of us has lived in Haverhill for like a long time.
That's true.
Where did you grow up? Which street?
Franklin Street.
Franklin Street, yeah, cool. And you've had relatives in Haverhill as well,
Yeah,
right?
Riverside, School
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah. So chances are you guys
Haverhill.
probably know one of us depending on how old you are and what you do for fun and
I
stuff
went
like
to
that.
Falk School right here on this street.
Yeah, so this is like revisiting old times coming here. Yeah. Well, you did awesome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
it was really great.
Appreciate
And
your support.
I'm glad that you're helping me with my business and I'm helping you with your health. So we're kind of doing a win-win. So
Appreciate it.
thanks guys so
you so
much. See you next time.